Hey, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Fundraising BIDness Talk, episode 71. My name is Patrick Siver. I'm the lead auctioneer and owner of G Events LLC, and it's so exciting to see everyone today. Thanks for tuning in and being a part of our show. And speaking of being a part of our show, please do me a favor. Make sure that you type in the chat, say hello, let us know where you're tuning in from. Always like to give a shout out back and say good morning or afternoon, wherever you may be. And also, as always, feel free to ask any questions that you have in the comment box, and we would be happy to answer them. So let's get started. I had a lot of fun last week. I mentioned that I had two fundraising auctions taking place Friday night and Saturday night. We had a lot of fun with our friends at NAMI Clackamas on Friday night over at Gray Gables Estate. And one of my favorite venues, I'll tell you what, Gray Gables is just a terrific venue. If you're in the Portland market and you're looking for a venue that could probably accommodate, I would say for a fundraising auction, seated dinner, probably a couple hundred people. But they've got expansive grounds. If you were doing an outdoor event, boy, would it be fun. Just incredible folks over there at Gray Gables Estate. In fact, I was talking to Jen, their owner, and they are doing uh, some fun things coming up this fall. And we talked about getting Jen's going to join us on one of the programs coming up here for fundraising BIDness talk. She's going to join us on an episode and share a little bit about her insight into fundraising auctions from a venue standpoint, some of the things that they're um, uh, find integral to success, and some of the different things, but also talk about just some of the great things going on at some of the great things that are going on at Gray Gables Estates. They're going to be doing a dinner theater there coming up, and some fun stuff. But they knocked it out of the park the other night with our friends from NAMI Clackamas. They did a great job as always. I'm always amazed at how efficient and almost invisible their staff is. They uh, they're great people. So check it out. Google Grace Gable Estates. Here it's actually in Milwaukee, Oregon, part of suburb of Portland for those tuning in from outside the area. And it's a fabulous place. So check it out. And then our second event we did down in Newburgh at the Chehalem Cultural Center, which is another wonderful venue. And we really a fun format there for our friends at Maple Rush Elementary Partners in Education. They had a great event. They did some unique things, as I shared with you. They did not do a seated dinner. They wanted to keep their ticket price very low to make it accessible for their entire school community. And so we ended up with, I think, about 125 folks there the other night. It was fantastic. And we had, they offered for the ticket price, when you got to your table, there was a nice charcuterie cup. And then they offered desserts from our friend Alex over there at Hungry Hero Desserts in Sherwood. And then they also had a family. So that was what you got for your ticket. Plus, you also got a your first drink, right? So whether it was, they had a couple of different types of beverages there. Folks from Ewing Young Distillery were there, and for Chehalem Brewing were there, as well as soft drinks, coffee, tea, that whole deal. But your first drink was included in your ticket price. And then they did a cool thing where they at the Chehalem Cultural Center, they have a big garage door in the ballroom that reaches out to a nice patio, finished patio area. It's really cool. And they pulled up a food truck, which is the Hutch and Lucky's barbecue truck. And Hutch and Lucky's, the truck is owned by a Maple Rush family. And so those folks made a limited menu available. Really, they limited their barbecue menu primarily because of speed, wanted to be able to turn out for all those that wanted it. And the feedback was phenomenal, and it was great. Hutch and Lucky's kicked back some revenue, as well as did Chehalem Brewing and Ewing Young Distillery. back to the organization, back to the school, and that was fantastic. So it kept the ticket price low, but everybody was accommodated. It was fantastic. They had a great event, and one of the things that they utilized, which I hadn't seen in a while, used to do it all the time for our friends at Ducks Unlimited, and it's come up before in other, I would say, pre-COVID as an idea, and I never was that fired up about it, but uh, now that we've entered this new post-COVID environment and we've made some changes in our formats and some of the things that we're doing to raise money, all of a sudden it became obvious to me that this has some real legs, and it's something that I don't think it fits everybody, but I wanted to share the concept with you today, um, just so that you can see if it fits for your group. I don't as one of the books that I read. I'm trying to think of the guy's name right now, but it'll come to me. Says, I don't know if it's for you, but, and here's the idea and the concept. So I'm going to go ahead and pull out the chalkboard today, and let's see how we do with going at it this way. So let's start with this premise, and that premise is the silent auction has been replaced by the online auction, and there's a lot of reasons for that. And let's just kind of touch on them if you haven't thought about it. First of all, the online auction expands the bandwidth of reach. You're not restricted to just your ticket holders. It's an extremely low barrier to entry having an online auction. You didn't have to buy a ticket to participate. You didn't have to get dressed up. You didn't have to get a babysitter. You didn't have to take an Uber. You can, very low barrier to entry. The other thing we love about them is their 24/7 availability through the bidding window. So in other words, people have access to it 24/7, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, for the period of time that you have your bidding open. And you're also not limited by the number of lines on a paper bid sheet, which I'm a huge fan of, because I feel like the old silent auctions we used to do, um, you didn't necessarily, it's not truly an auction, right? I mean, it was kind of like we told you what the max number we were going to take, and there it is. And so with the online bidding, though, you're not limited by that number of lines. You can take 100 bids on an item. That's fantastic. It also allows non-attendees to participate and support. And what I mean by that is, I mentioned earlier, low barrier entry. You didn't have to have a ticket to participate, but it also allows folks that are outside the area to be able to participate. So that's fantastic. And at the end of the day, it increases our number of bidders. And as we know, we've discussed before, the more bidders, we're going to have more dollars at the end of the day for our nonprofit. So, that kind of leads us in the direction that is why that we have gone to online bidding and taken our silent auctions out of the gathering event. And many people were taking them out anyway. They didn't feel like there was as good a return on them. But I find that when they go online, the return's significantly better, especially if you practice some of the philosophies that we've imparted over the last couple of years, with the low starting bids, as low as $10, and keeping them open for a week, closing them at your signature event or right after your signature event. You follow those practices, we've had some really strong results, and it held true last week. I mean, both events did extremely well with their online auctions relative to what they had done in the past with just a silent auction. So that being said, though, one of the things organizers are always thinking about is that what is that social hour entertainment? Because in some ways you thought yes, it was a fundraising element, but it was also entertainment for the folks when they first arrived, and the silent auction was. And so I hear a lot of organizers, committee chairs asking, what do we do during the social hour now? Is it just standing around having cocktails or wine or socializing, or is there anything to do? And I've seen folks approach that differently. I've had some folks that the event Friday night had a magician that was set up and was doing card tricks and different magic tricks for the audience. And Michael was great. People were enjoying it, and that was fantastic. The thing that sticks out to my mind is it doesn't necessarily raise us any more money. And so if there was an opportunity that we could raise money and entertain the folks, that would be fantastic. And I have heard some committees have said, hey, we kind of miss the silent auction, right? In some cases, some folks are old school. They're not into. So all that being said, and taking all that into account, one of the things we did Saturday night, which I thought was fantastic, was we incorporated the old, I call it the bucket raffle. And so I was pleasantly surprised. I looked at it through a new lens this time because it's post COVID. Like I said, it was something that I had seen done at Ducks Unlimited events. I think throughout the country they do this format where they even have different levels and colors of buckets that correspond with the different values of the prizes and all that. I don't know. Anyhow, so I wanted to touch base on it and share it with you today because it might be something you should consider for your next fundraising event. It might be a nice little revenue enhancer for you during the social hour, and kind of doesn't replace your silent auction because you took that online, but it's an additional revenue source for you. So let's take a look. The basic premise is very simple. Guests purchase tickets, and then they place those tickets in a container corresponding to the item they want to win. So picture a display of items that are available, and then in front of those items is a box. And that box, as you can see in this illustration, you have a basket, whether it's the lavender basket or the whiskey basket, the holidays basket or the Amazon gift card basket. And and then they sell tickets, and then folks put their tickets in the box of the item they would like to win. And so in some ways they almost bid with their tickets, right? They increase their odds by putting more tickets into a certain box. And then it works out really well because for a bunch of different reasons. But so the concept is you have somebody selling tickets. This weekend we did it using Octria, and it wouldn't be a fundraising business talk if I didn't say something about Octria. But this time we used Octria in what we call kiosk mode, and we um, which allows you to open up kiosk mode as a website, and you can open it up on a mobile phone. You can open it up on a tablet, whatever you work. They happen to use tablets this last weekend, and it's literally you get a menu and you push a button and add the bidder number, and it automatically puts it on their tab. So instead of doing the traditional clipboard and writing down all the bid number and then how many tickets they bought and then going back into the auction software and having to retype that in, this does it all in one way, and all in one step with the kiosk mode. And it worked splendidly the other night. I think speed is a factor here. The faster you can sell tickets, the faster they can get on their tab, the better. And kiosk mode from our friends at Octria worked really, really well. So I wanted to share a couple of things as we look at this picture. Uh, there's a couple of things I want to draw your attention to. You can see that we have a box in front of each of the baskets in this display, and the reason we do is because uh, it's called a bucket raffle, and I've seen with our friends at Ducks Unlimited, a lot of times they'll use buckets. Sometimes they're covered, sometimes they're not. But I think it's really important for them to be covered so that the folks can't look inside the box. Because when they can look inside the container, whatever that container is, they can gauge their odds, and that's not a good thing necessarily. If they think there's a ton of tickets in there, then they may not want to put their tickets in there, or they may not want to buy more tickets to put them in there. So make sure that you use boxes. In this case, they had the boxes sealed the other night with a little sticker with the event logo on it, which was really kind of cute. They just took plain old construction manila boxes, construction paper kind of manila. I'd call them, packing boxes. They were kind of little gift boxes they opened up, but they used sticker with the event logo to seal them. And then on the front of them, they just took mailing labels and they added some color to it and this and that. And they put the package number and the name of the package on the front of the box. And that worked really well because that way, the boxes, every now and then get moved away from whatever they're supposedly corresponding to. And occasionally, so the fact that the box has the item number and the item name on it also has a lid with just a little slot on it like these do here. So you can just insert your tickets into, as illustrated here, they insert the tickets into the box and folks don't know how many tickets are in each one, right? Which is I think it's key to the success of the program. And then the other thing that I would say it's nice is that when we go to draw the tickets at the end of the evening, which is when we would do it and what we did normally in DU events, and then what we did last week with our friends at Maple Rush, is that as I pull those winning tickets out, we write the winning ticket number on that label on the front that has the name of the package on it. And then that way it makes it really simple in case for some reason tickets get swapped around or people don't know who won. Now, I'm going to give you another tidbit that I think is really important, and that is make it easy for you and your auctioneer or your MC, whoever's going to be doing these things, and ask the bidders that when they buy their raffle tickets, write their bid number on the ticket, right? So if they'll just write their simple 3-digit number right here on the ticket, bidder number 123, whatever their bidder number is, and write that bidder number here, it makes the process a lot faster in the execution at the end because I'm only as a MC and auctioneer, I'm only announcing a 3-digit number, and people also remember their bidder number. They don't remember their raffle ticket numbers, and so when you call out, something like a 7-digit number that's illustrated on these, on this artwork, then it's real confusing, and inevitably, somebody says, "Hey, I got that," and it's not them, and whatever. So have your bidders write their bid number right on the tickets before they put them in the boxes, which is extremely, extremely handy. And then, there's a couple other, FAQs that I wanted to touch base on. First of all, people ask me how many packages should we have. I would encourage you. Oh, before I do that, I want to back up. I apologize. Let's back up. I want to look at some of these packages because one of the things that I thought about when we were doing this is, and when they brought it up to me, is I said, hey, pick some items that you're going to put online that you don't think are going to do incredibly well relative. They're not going to be incredibly popular, and they're not going to get a whole lot of bids in excess of their value. As the traditional online or traditional silent auction, a good silent auction got about 50% of fair market value. A good silent auction got around 70% of fair market value when you add it all up. And what we've seen in online, when you follow those practices we talked about earlier, that we're seeing in excess of 90% return on fair market value, and in many cases over 100% on certain items. I would say that the items that perform below 100% are usually items that were marginal, really didn't speak to the audience to begin with. Maybe that business coaching package or that workout package at a gym that nobody knows where it's at. Those types of things that don't traditionally do well regardless. But the online actions, definitely what we're experiencing at G events with our clients is that they definitely outperform the traditional really good silent auctions. So we looked at some packages and we said, hey, these are packages that we really don't expect them to exceed fair market value, maybe a little, probably not though, and that we felt like they're not barn burners packages. So, in this case, they had some baskets. This was one of them was a lavender basket, which was which was a nice package, but it was not something that was going to go hog wild in an online auction. They did have a Ewing Young whiskey package, which is always popular, but I don't see those packages go over 100%, and usually they don't get to 100% because a person looks at it and they go, "Hey, really, what I want there is that bottle of whiskey, or maybe some collectible there." But they don't know the value of those if they went out and bought them, so it just doesn't normally get to 100%. And then there was this holiday package. It was kind of uh, home decorating package for the holidays. Cool stuff, but really tough for people to get a sense for when it's online. When you have a basket full of stuff like this in an online event, you can spell it out in the description, but it doesn't really give it its due. But when you put it on display, and people can see it and touch it, now all of a sudden, maybe a certain piece sticks out to them or great. So I thought this was a great package for the bucket raffle. And then lastly, I would say the other thing is, and then I'm going to get into more detail on this, gift cards are great for the bucket raffle too, because in this illustration here, we have $100 Amazon gift card. And on an online auction, we'd be pretty happy if we got $100 for it. We're seeing a lot of times we are getting face value on these gift cards. In some cases, a little bit over face value, maybe 120% for a gift card. But in this bucket raffle, we have the opportunity to get a much higher percentage of fair market value, because remember, people are buying tickets at a much lower value than what their bid is, right? So if they are buying, I think the other night we went with $5 single tickets and 5 tickets for $20. Well, if you think you can win $100 gift card with a $5 ticket, you know, that's a pretty good deal, right? So a lot of people would put at least one ticket in there. Well, it doesn't take long to put tickets in there before you've exceeded the value of the item. And that's is what we saw happen. And so this is fantastic. Let's talk a little bit about some of the frequently asked questions I hear from folks when we talk about this concept. One is how many packages, and my answer for that is the traditional answer that we would have if we were starting a new event with a silent auction. We want competition, right? So by generating, if you had a maximum, okay, a maximum of one package per two bidders, then you're going to see pretty good results. Okay, that would be the what I would say is kind of the benchmark. Now, interestingly enough, I wanted to find bidders. Okay, because if a couple is there together, um, and they're sharing a pocketbook, right? They've got a single bidder number. That's one bidder, not two bidders. So it may be two people, but it's one bidder because it's coming out of one checkbook. So if we think about the traditional event like the other night, we had 120 some odd guests. Most of them were paired up. Let's say that was, 60, 55 to 60 different bidders, which is fantastic. Um, then you would think, you could probably have 25 to 30 individual packages if you wanted to. Now, in this group on Saturday, we only had 10 baskets. We decided the majority of the items were going to be popular in their online auction. And so we left the majority of them in the online auction. We just grabbed 10 packages to put in the bucket raffle. That allowed us to build a catalog page. It allowed us to promote it. It was fantastic. Okay. And then people ask me price of tickets. And I think that really depends on the value of the packages. If you've got things like I just showed you on the slide previously, I would say a $5 ticket, 5 tickets for $20 is a good combination. That works really well. If you want to get very sophisticated, then you can have different levels of packages and different levels of tickets, similar to what they do at Ducks Unlimited, where they might have white buckets and blue buckets and then gold buckets, right? And the white tickets go in the white buckets, and those are your dollar a ticket, $5 a ticket type of tickets. And the value of those prizes are commiserate, right? There's nothing valued more than maybe, let's say, $100. Okay. And then they have their blue level, which those tickets are, let's say, they might be $10 a piece. And those items might range in value from anywhere from $100 to maybe $500. And then they have their gold level packages, which might be a $50 ticket. And those packages could range anywhere from $1,000 to several $1,000s depending on what they are. Okay, so you can do it a different way, but with respect to price of tickets, kind of depends on the value of the packages that you're offering, and then compare that to what you think your audience can accommodate. Right? Don't be offering $100 tickets if your audience paid $25 to come to the event. That's not going to work real well. But don't undervalue it either. Okay, because people have a choice. They can buy more, or they can buy less, right? I always say it's best to hazard on the lower price level, the lower price point, because those who would pay more can just buy more tickets. And so that's the way we look at it, like that. And then I mentioned earlier raffle tickets. Do you use the traditional numbered raffle tickets? Well, you certainly can. I'm going to encourage you, though. You could just use blank tickets if it's easy for you, or blank pieces of paper that you have printed, and then put the bidder number on them. Okay, because the bidder number is something that's easy for people to remember. They don't misplace their tickets and not know where their tickets are. And nobody writes somebody else's bid number on the ticket, right? So uh, it just makes life a lot simpler. It's a lot faster execution when people write the bid numbers on the tickets. And then when is the drawing is the last question I get pretty frequently. Should we do this before dinner? Should we do it after dinner? When should we do it? I like to see it at the end of the run of show. I really like to see it after you've sold the last package in the live auction, after you've done your paddle raise or your fund to need. I like to see it at the end of the event. Kind of tends to hold people's attention, keeps the audience there. But as with virtually anything in our run a show, we want to keep all the fundraising in front of 9 o'clock. So you can have this raffle, the announcement of the winners, go after 9 o'clock here on the West Coast. That's fine. Uh, just I like to see it placed at the end of the event. Because that just seems to really work well for us. And then, the question that always gets asked, and the most important one is what were the results? And this is why I'm a fan of this project now, or this tool, let's call it, is that we saw our revenue exceed the fair market value of the items. I think that we had, if you put the fair market value of the 10 items up, it was like $1,200, and the revenue from the sale of the tickets was nearly $2,000. So well in excess of 150% of fair market value, which is fantastic, because now all of a sudden, it definitely outperformed the old silent auction, and in some ways maybe outperform some of the items in your online auction. But I think the real value is that a lot of those packages would have never reached those numbers if you were waiting for a single bidder to put a bid on that. The fact that people could bid with $5 tickets, uh, there was a lot of items that, hey, if I win this and I spent $5, I felt good about, but I wouldn't have bid $150 for it, right? So that was really positive, and I think is one of the extreme benefits of incorporating this is that if now you have something for your audience to entertain themselves with during the social hour, that is also a revenue enhancer, helps you raise some more money, and it's kind of fun. It's a low price point. People can purchase as much as they want. They can make it fit their budget. That's fantastic. It's not it's a fun way to raise some extra money for your event. So um, that's how I feel about that and what I think about it. And it's a fun program, and I encourage you to think about it as a bucket raffle. Great concept and easy to do. If there's any questions, hey folks, type them in the comment box right now, and I will try to answer them before we leave the air here in just a couple of minutes. As we get ready to do that, I do want to remind you that we're here on every Wednesday. Fundraising Business Talk is live at noon PST, Pacific Standard Time. And if you missed today's episode or any of the episodes, you'd like to go back. Maybe you heard me say something a couple of months ago, and you're starting your planning for your show, for your event. And what did Patrick say about that? You can always go back and go to fundraisingbidnesstalk.com, and we have all the episodes, all 71 are up on Fundraising Business Talk, and each have a little description so you can easily find the subject you wanted to talk about or hear about, and let's go. And then the other thing I want to remind you, hey, if you've got a question for me, you want to visit about your event on a one-on-one basis, please go to geventsllc.com. Feel free to use the Calendly link in there. It's our scheduler program, and it will schedule a meeting with me in the format you choose. If you're local, we can get together in person. If you are out there somewhere else, schedule a Zoom meeting, 30 minutes, an hour, whatever you think it'll take. And we would love to sit and listen and visit with you and share whatever insight we might have about the fundraising BIDness, and hopefully take you to that next level and help you make some more money. So that's it for today, folks. We've got a kickoff. We kicked off a online auction this morning for our buddies at Camp Lutherwood down in Cheshire, Oregon. We're going to be doing a little kickoff live stream tonight with Melissa and Andrea, my good buddies there at Camp Lutherwood. Always a great time down there at Camp Lutherwood. And then next week, at the culmination of their online auction, we'll have a little live stream next week and raise a lot of money, hopefully, in the next 7 days for Camp Lutherwood. Great organization and a lot of fun people to work with. So, hey, folks, thanks so much for tuning in. We certainly appreciate it. We wish you nothing but the finest in your fundraising efforts. And as always, it does not matter where you start the bidding, folks. It's all about where you finish. Hope you have a terrific day, and we'll look forward to catching you next week right here on Fundraising BIDness Talk. Goodbye, everybody.